Okay, welcome back to this week's episode of Friends of Kayla. I'm so excited to have one of the Jewish matchmakers, dating coaches on the podcast today. So we are not interviewing a matchmaker, but taking a step prior to what goes into matchmaking and really uncovering how people are dating, what they can do better to ultimately find their match. So I have Gilli Kahn here. She works directly with Eliza Ben Shalom, who you all know from Jewish Matchmaking on Netflix, who I interviewed about a year ago. And I really wanted to have another person in the dating world to talk to because I'm single, I'm 30, going through the dating world myself. And I know a lot of you can also really relate to an episode like this. So I'm very excited to have Gilli here, one of Eliza's dating coaches. Gilli Kahn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Kayla, for having me.
Very, very excited to get into this conversation. So before we dig into the juicy stuff, Gilli, can you give us some background on how you got into the dating space to begin with?
Yes, so before I started working as a dating and relationship coach, I worked as an international lawyer and I had several roles in the diplomatic world. And I really specialized in negotiation and conflict resolution, which further helped me really understand why I can be helpful when I guide people through the dating process. Um, Before I became a dating coach, I also worked for Microsoft and I focused on digital transformation, on AI policy, all over Latin America. So, which helped me to also understand different cultures and help people see how they can find aligned values, even though they're from different countries. So, some of my specialties are long distance relationships as well. But basically, I became a dating and relationship coach like about 6 years ago during the pandemic when I saw that people feel really lonely and wanted to find someone and have a relationship more than ever before. And I felt I have the tools and the skills to help people navigate their process. Now, people usually are not even aware of that they might benefit from coaching. And I was actually one of them. And I felt like I don't need help. I have it all figured out. But then a few relationships later, I thought like, okay, maybe I do need help. Maybe I'm not an expert in that field. And so I started reading books. I started watching videos. I started getting training and certification and then became an expert myself. And now I'm happy to share my knowledge and experience with people.
That's amazing. And for people that like don't even know what the term like dating coach means or what that really entails, can you elaborate on why that is so important, especially before taking that step to even matchmake in the first place? Like I think so many people are so quick to just rush to the apps, rush to maybe going to a matchmaker before really understanding, like you said, maybe there are ways that I can improve the way that I date before I actually take that step and go on a date.
So, coaching helps you to date with intention and more effectively. And a dating coach helps you to navigate the dating process easier. And a matchmaker focuses more on making the introduction. But when you don't have the coaching part, you can make great matches. But if they don't have the skills and the tools to make a relationship work, they might not make it work. So the dating coach should help you before the introduction, ideally, during the introduction, and after the introduction.
Right. And I mean, I would think too, if you're going through like the dating coaching process and hiring someone like yourself, maybe that person is so well equipped to go back into the dating scene on their own and might not even need a matchmaker. Maybe you could avoid that kind of step too, all in all.
Right. So the good thing about coaching is that it's very future focused and goal oriented. You are starting at point A and you want to get to point B, and you get the tools of how to do it. So, for example, I have a client. She came to me and she said, I'm thinking of going to a matchmaker, but I want to do coaching first because I don't feel ready for matchmaking. Can you help me? And I said, sure, let's work together. And so we started working on self awareness, confidence. And at some point, she said to me, "You know, I have so many friends and family. They're constantly introducing me to people. I'm going to start going out on dates." And I said, "Great." And now she's actually dating somebody and she skipped the matchmaking process.
Yeah, no, that's incredible to hear that. And I think a lot of people don't even consider that as like a first step. That's like number one, right? I guess being self-aware enough to know that there maybe might be an issue here of like we're not meeting the right people, or we're not being as intentional as we think we should be, or we don't even know what we're looking for. I guess like on that topic, what are some of the things that people are coming to you for? Is it any of those three things that I just mentioned? Is it more than that? I guess what are the most like common trends you're seeing out of the clients that come to you?
So the biggest issue is that people come to me saying that I don't find my person. Like I don't know where my person is. How can I find my person? And then I need to dive deeper and understand what they're actually looking for and why are they not finding the person. Like, is it really an issue of scarcity, or is it because they have to do the inner work first in order to even see the right person? Because maybe they get the opportunities, but they don't know how to transform them into a relationship.
Mm. Do you find that women specifically are oftentimes looking for the wrong things? I guess not just women, but men and women, let's say. Let's just put everyone on an equal playing field for now, and then we'll dig into like the genders and how we date differently. But yeah, do you find that people really are looking for the wrong things when it comes to a true partnership? If marriage is ultimately like what those clients of yours are looking for?
Well, I wouldn't call it right or wrong, but what I would say is people lack emotional awareness and matureness in order to really understand what they want in a partner and in a relationship. And so when you become aware of that and you're willing to make compromises, it helps you to get to find the right person, meaning that you're willing to compromise on the right person and you're willing to compromise on the type of relationship that you're seeking.
Hmm. That's a big word, compromise. And we hear that often. Obviously, no one's perfect. But in the world of social media and just the landscape of dating today, I think a lot of us are probably searching for like Mr. Right, like that perfect partner. Obviously, that doesn't exist. Like, regardless of what you're looking for, like you said, you're going to have to compromise on something. That's something I struggle with, right? Not even struggle with, but I think figuring out like what are my deal breakers and what are things that I'm willing to compromise on. Obviously, those vary between each individual person. I saw an article today on Tablet Magazine actually talking about how dating has changed. And when it comes to matchmaking, women are asking for different things in today's day and age than they were asking for 20 years ago. First and foremost, that being a guy that's emotionally intelligent. That's a term that, people never even talked about 10, 20 years ago, is what this article was saying. And then secondly is, does the guy have hair and is he tall? So how often are you hearing these things come up when it comes to your clients? And how do you guide people to maybe break through what they think, that perfect image is in their head of their person?
So, yes, definitely. I hear these things all the time. And this is where matchmaking is much more efficient and productive if it goes hand in hand with coaching, because it's a process. With coaching, you help the person to actually transform and see what they're willing to compromise on and what are the deal breakers. And so it's very important to realize, what are you accepting? What are you willing to negotiate? And so, yes, as you said, nobody is perfect. Everybody has advantages and disadvantages. And ultimately, if you want to find a person and get into a relationship, you will have to compromise. And the question is, on what are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to compromise on height? Are you willing to compromise on educational level? Are you willing to compromise on social status? I don't mind on what you compromise as long as you know what you want. You know, some people come to me and they say, I know exactly what I want and I don't want to compromise. I said, that's perfectly fine. You just need to know that the outcome is going to be that for you to find your person is going to be much more challenging and it's going to take more time.
Mm. And when it comes to like how men and women are coming to you with these things that they are quote unquote willing to compromise on, what would you say are some of the biggest differences that you're seeing? Like for a woman, for example, is she not as likely to compromise on something with that's, more so about their personality or something more like emotional intelligence, whereas a guy is less likely to compromise on a woman's looks? That's just me kind of gender stereotyping there, but I'm curious if there are any parallels between the two genders or if it seems pretty varied.
Well, it's very general, and I think that men and women struggle with very similar issues when it comes to compromising. The way how they need to do the inner work is a bit different. Also, because on average, women have a higher emotional intelligence than men. There are obviously exceptions, but just generalizing. And so women need to work more on how to attract the person that they want to be with, which mainly I feel that requires knowing how to be in your feminine energy,
Mm,
and how to be, you know, submissive, seductive, when she is with the right person. And also, what I tell women, which is very important, is do not get emotionally invested in the relationship too early. So wait for the guy to be first emotionally invested before you do.
mm,
And this will help you to find the right person, because sometimes when we focus on height, looks, physical attraction, it's very easy to get emotionally invested into a relationship without figuring out, are we even compatible?
right.
And for men usually, if they want to find the woman, the type of woman they want to date, usually they have to work on dating skills, on flirting skills, and emotional awareness.
Mm. I find it very interesting because from what I've read and seen on dating, which is a topic I'm very interested in, is that men are less likely to compromise on looks, whereas women are more likely to compromise on looks. And I saw a clip recently that actually Jared Freed was saying, who's a comedian who's hilarious. He was saying that, women will go out on a date with a guy because their friends set them up and their friends like, he's a nice guy. If a guy were to be told, "Oh, she's a nice girl," go on the date, but they don't find her attractive, 9 out of 10 times that guy is saying, "No, I'm not gonna bother. I'm not gonna waste my time." So why aren't more women dating the way that men are?
Well, it's actually good they don't.
Is it? Because
And
and I have thoughts on this, but I would love to hear your perspective, then I will jump in.
so, as I said before, women are emotionally more aware and have usually a higher emotional intelligence than men. This is by nature. Again, I'm generalizing and there are exceptions. But women can make attraction grow when they combine social information that is related to the guy. They don't just feel, oh, I'm not attracted, or yes, I'm super attracted. A woman wants to gather more information. She wants to know what's his social status, what's his profession, is he kind, how does he treat me? All of these factors will determine how attractive a woman sees a man. So, for
Mm,
example, if the same good looking man is a surgeon, he will be much more attractive to a woman, whether if he is a waiter, for example.
right.
When it comes to men, men are really more visual, and for a man it's they separate the emotional connection from the looks. And so for a man, it's much more challenging to make attraction grow. If a man is not physically attracted to a woman, it's very challenging to teach him how to become emotionally more aware, and to think that, okay, well, she's really nice, she treats me nicely, she's a great person, kind-hearted. How can I feel more attracted to her? They can learn that too if they want to, but it's much more challenging as
Mm.
an exercise.
I've seen that even with like guy friends of mine and definitely like experienced that firsthand. But I will say, and this is my own personal experience, and I think this goes into what we've talked about before, which is like the three different types of daters:
Yes.
me, I, you.
So Aliza, who I love to collaborate with, and she is a huge inspiration to me. She has a theory that she calls the I, we, you dater. So depending on which category you are at, it's easier or more difficult for you to grow attraction. If you're, for example, an I dater, it's going to be more challenging for you to make physical attraction grow, but you still can do it. For the we dater and you daters, it's less of a challenge.
And majority of the people out there are we and you daters, correct?
Right. So
Mm.
according to Elisa, it's like a bell curve. So I daters are about 15%,
Okay.
we daters 70%. That's the majority of people. And then you dater are 15% again.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I
So
think
yes, so the majority of people are in the we and you category.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely in the minority here because from personal experience, every single time I go on a date, I feel like I know. I just know if I'm going to
Right.
like them or not. And my gut and my intuition has never once proven me otherwise, truly. And so the way that I've been dating now as a 30-year-old versus in my 20s is like not saying yes to every date because I have this gut intuition truly every time. So like I'm not trying to be the type of girl that's like, okay, just go out with him. He's a nice guy anymore because in the past it's failed me. But also on the flip side, like you said, attraction can grow. So maybe there could be a situation where the guy has literally everything I'm looking for, but maybe he's not like the cutest guy in the world. I don't know, whatever it may be. And like he could be my person. I don't know. So that's personally where I'm at with my
Right.
dating journey is trying to trust myself a little bit more and be more intentional based off of like what I know about myself.
Right. And again, we come here to what are you willing to compromise on? So, for example, I know exactly what it feels like because I'm also an iDater. And my recommendation for iDaters would be to um, try to go with an open mind and be very clear of what you want for yourself in the future. When you go out on a date, don't feel necessarily like this person needs to be my future husband. Um, be more relaxed about it, date without pressure, which that recommendation goes to everybody, but try to have an open mindset and mostly give people a chance. Idaters tend to judge people, and then it's impossible for someone to meet your expectations. Like there's nothing they can do to make you change your mind.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that goes back to just having a clear outline of like what I'm looking for and
Right.
knowing what I want to compromise on and what I don't. And what I will say is, again, that's me, my personal situation, but I have a good friend actually who I was just catching up with last night who has met this guy, multiple times at Chabad. She was always seeing like other guys there and was never really interested in this one guy, but he kept pursuing her, kept pursuing her. Finally, she's just like, okay, sure, I'll go on one date. He was totally not her quote unquote physical type.
Yes.
But she just told me this week, I have a boyfriend. They've been seeing each other for like 6, 7 weeks, and he's an amazing guy. So I think that is, that goes to show that women, it can grow. And you're right, you got to give some people a chance. And it's just who
Absolutely.
you choose to give that
Right.
opportunity
Right.
to. I think can be very difficult when you've, spent a lot of time going out with every single person. They say it's a numbers game, right? And now when you're really looking for that partner, it's like, what's the balance between saying yes and also knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and saying no?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think your friend is an excellent example, and more women should take this as an example if they can. As long as you still feel happy, like it needs to be a healthy compromising.
Right, right. So on that same topic, I, recently went out with someone through a setup who is Shomer Shabbat. And I didn't know he was Shomer Shabbat actually, but when I was doing my research on him, typically I like to look at LinkedIn. Like that is my go-to source when I'm vetting someone, just because I'm a career person. I like to see that they have something going on, like, I'm an ambitious woman, I definitely want a guy that's, like, I think my level of ambition, which we can talk about feminine energy, I think that's, like, a good, like, segue from here as well. But, again, this guy, we were set up. It was through, like, a friend, a loose friend, like, she doesn't know me that well, but he probably saw from, like, my Instagram account that I'm Jewish and, like, maybe thought I was more religious than I am, and or he just didn't care, right? And was like, "It's, this girl's cute, I just wanna go out with her," which is fine. But I, thought going to the date, he's, like, cute, he has a lot of things on paper, definitely not, like, my typical type, and he might be a little bit more religious, but, like, you never know, and it was a setup, so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go." Immediately I knew, like, this guy was totally not for me, and especially when it comes to the religion part, I'm like, "This guy keeps Shabbat, he's also kosher," like, that for me is just not it's not my lifestyle, like, I grew up playing sports on Saturdays, like, I, love getting together for Shabbat, I love lighting my Shabbat candles, but I don't think keeping Shabbat would be for me, and I don't know if that would change with anyone, like, I don't know if that would even change if, like, let's say I'd gone on a date and I'd loved the guy in every single way, like, I do think aligning on your, like, level of religious values is very important. I'm curious what you think about that, specifically when it comes to Judaism and the different levels of Judaism.
Right. So I work with almost all levels of observance level, from secular to very orthodox. And I've seen that obviously observance level matters a lot, mainly when it comes to lifestyle. So the specific question should not even be like, oh, like, am I Shomer Shabbat or not? Is he Shomer Shabbat or not? But mainly like, what are you looking for in a relationship? What type of home do you want to build? And later on, how do you want to raise your children?
Right, because
And
this guy could have been super flexible on what he deems keeping Shabbat, for example.
maybe yes, maybe not.
Right, like you
We
never know is the point, I
right.
guess.
Ideally, the person who is less observant will want to grow
And be
to
more
reach
observant.
the yes,
Right.
yes. I would not suggest taking somebody who is already observant and lowering his level of observancy, but just my personal view.
Mm.
But what I've seen is that it's very challenging to combine different levels of observancy. It depends on the gap, and it really depends on how much people are willing to compromise, negotiate, and really put in the effort into the relationship. Because remember, relationships are already challenging by themselves. So now you put on top of it the element of a different observance level, it creates a new challenge.
So, what do you think are the core pillars and like foundations of a relationship? Because growing up, I've always thought, or maybe been told, that there's three like levels, and that's or three foundations of a relationship, which is sex, money, and religion. And that in order to have a successful marriage, you have to be relatively aligned on those three categories. What would you say to that?
Okay, so I would say first of all, it's a little bit different when it comes to men and women to
Okay.
make a relationship work. And it's very interesting what you're mentioning, because a woman needs to feel protected and secure in a relationship. And that security and protection needs to be perceived in different areas, which is one is financial, the other is physical, and the other is emotional. And when a woman can find those three categories, she can feel secure and protected in a relationship. Now, a man needs similar things but a bit different. Basically, a man needs from the woman to admire him. He needs admiration to feel important in the relationship. And I always tell my female clients, make sure there is enough food. Like, don't let your man be hungry. Whether you like to cook or not, make sure there is food at home or go out. So the second thing is food, believe it or not. And the third thing, obviously, is intimacy. So a man needs to have physical intimacy to feel that the relationship is going well. So these are like the kind of like magic recipes that you need to make a relationship work.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I was curious what your take was on that. Um, oh my gosh, I have so many questions I would like to ask you. I'm like, where do I go? Where do I go from here?
I'm so happy to answer all of
No,
them.
I love it. I love it. I think like we should talk about well, first of all, going back to like the more religious aspect of things and different and dating people of different observance levels. I have a friend who is dating a much more religious man. And from the get-go, that has always been their one issue is like, do I want to succumb to, or not succumb, but do I want to be more flexible to even, being him, wanting to be Nita, which is a term that I didn't know about until recently. And I think that's a very hard thing to compromise on. So I think you would probably agree with that based off of what you said around observance levels and how that is pretty important for a future stable marriage.
Right. So very challenging for whom the question is, right? So for
And
example,
is
yes,
when you don't have sex or don't even sleep in the same
you
room.
yes. So during there is a certain time of during the month, depending on the woman's period, that a man and a woman they need to sleep in separate beds and they're not allowed to even touch each other. So no hugging, no touching. It's about for 2 weeks every month.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
that's a lot to ask of someone that didn't grow up that way, you know?
but it's her choice to either agree or not,
Totally,
right?
totally.
So again, is she willing to compromise on it or not? The most important thing is that if she is willing to go that road, not to be resentment and to really see it in a positive light.
Mm.
And if she doesn't feel comfortable with it, it's probably not the right relationship.
Totally, totally. And that's interesting that you said the flip side of like, you can't expect the more religious person to be more flexible. It's usually the opposite. Which is like when I went to my into my David Shomer Shabbat man, I'm like, oh, maybe he's more chill about it, like than I think, because like I'm not going to be Shomer Shabbat. But yeah, that's an unrealistic expectation to
Uh,
probably have.
right. So one issue we all have is that we hope that the person will change, and
Oh, I've been down that road before. Yes. Yep. Yep.
not just religious wise, but in
Any other
every
way.
aspect, and mainly women, we want our partner to change.
Yep. And men don't change. I mean, people don't change. And
People change if they want to.
yeah.
People can go through transformation, but again, it requires an inner work. It will not happen through external forces.
Yeah,
And
it has to be if
so,
they want to make those changes
right.
themselves.
And,
Totally.
and so, if you date somebody with a different observance level, as long as both of you respect each other and don't try to force each other into something the other person doesn't really want to do, it's okay and it can work, but it is challenging, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been through that myself where I was like dating a guy who, on paper was everything I was looking for, but like super introverted. He was depressed. He was really like draining my energy because I'm the complete opposite type of person.
Yes.
But I thought he could change. And I thought like, you know, but I realized
Right.
that was not,
Right.
that's just who he is,
The,
unfortunately.
the, the only way for a person to change is if they realize they want to change.
Yeah. 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 I definitely learned that one the hard way.
But people do get more emotionally aware and mature through time. But it takes many years, of course.
Right. It's like, how long are you willing to like wait it out in that situation? Potentially, if you're compatible in many other areas. In my situation, that wasn't the case, but
Right.
I assume people could work through things.
Or wait or already make it work while you're in the relationship and just try to go together through the transformation.
Right. And build and grow
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So I want to talk more about, just the divide that we're seeing amongst men and women today, where, more young women are educated than young men are. Women are statistically, I believe, making more money than men are, even as a whole nowadays. So there's this discrepancy that we're seeing between almost this power dynamic between men and women, where there's a lot more ambitious, hardworking, driven young women and not enough of the same when it comes to men. Are you seeing that all in the types of work that you're doing with clients, or are you seeing this as like a friction point between like what men want in a woman versus what women think that they can expect out of a man when the woman is super hardworking and ambitious and like goal career oriented.
Yes, absolutely. I see it every day because the whole dating scenario shifted and changed um, because women are more educated, more professional, more career oriented. And now women become also are more demanding to what they want to find in men. And then, for example, emotional awareness was never a thing that men needed to provide. But now women want the emotional connection and they want it to come from the man. And men are not built to do that without the help of the woman.
Okay. So
And
how do we meet each other in the middle?
first of all, people need to really understand and acknowledge of what they want.
Mm,
And it requires to be a lot of honesty because we have a list of so many things we want, but what do we really want? It's something that is very personal to each of us. The next thing is that you need to understand what you need because it's not always the same thing what you want and what you need. And then the third is, what do I need to actually do to combine that? And how do I proceed on that? And only when you align those three things, you are ready to find a suitable match.
mm.
And that goes likewise for men and women.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. That's a tough one.
And
That's a tough one. I think that's definitely like a major, major issue with dating today is like women. Yeah, we have this list, right? And especially when it comes to emotional intelligence. And I think men are so career focused, so career driven, especially in their early, mid to late 20s, that it's not something they're maybe even thinking about until they're in their 30s when women
yes,
are ready to go. And it's
right,
just like pushing that timeline out so much further where people are just having kids later. And again, it's not just the
right,
man's fault, it's also women are building their
of course.
careers and having kids later in general. So it goes both ways, but it's definitely something that like people should try to at least be a little bit more aware of, I think.
Right. The positive thing of dating at a later stage is that you are hopefully emotionally more mature. But then the more challenging is that you already have your life structured in a way that maybe you don't prioritize dating without even noticing. And maybe you want to find somebody, but there is no real space in your life for a new person.
Yeah, no, that's definitely hard. You get stuck in your own like routine and it becomes harder to break those
Yes,
habits and those like habitual things that you're doing every single day.
like for
Yeah.
example, let's say a friend of yours wants to set you up and you take out your schedule and you look, okay, when am I available for a date? And probably it's going to be in 2 weeks.
Or you're just like, I mean, I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm so busy and fulfilled in so many aspects of my life that I don't really want to waste 4 hours going on a date with a guy that I'm probably not going to like.
Right.
But on the flip side, how do you find someone if you don't give someone a chance? So that's personally where I struggle is like finding that balance. And I hear that a lot from my girlfriends too. They're like, I'd rather work on my side hustle or go teach my yoga class that I do outside of my 9 to 5 or hang out with friends than waste my time getting ready, putting effort, and like going on a date.
So, this is when you really need to be strategic and smart about dating. And this is what I help my clients with, how to really date efficiently and not wasting your and other people's time. Um,
Yeah.
but it's a process on understanding your dating pattern, your dating skills, and again, what your goals are.
hmm What do you think about approaching people in real life? I think the art of meeting someone in person is a bit dead. And, because people have felt so reliant on the dating apps. But on the flip side, I think women have become a lot less like approachable because maybe we're out at a bar with like five friends and not even like giving a guy the time of the day. I like find this topic so interesting because as a more like extroverted woman who I go up to everyone. Like I don't mind like making the first quote unquote move on a guy, as in like I'll see a cute guy at a bar and I will start a conversation with them. After that, like I'm not here asking a man out on a date. I think that's a man's job. But a lot of women like don't even approach a guy. And on the flip side, a lot of men nowadays don't feel comfortable going up to a woman.
Right.
So, what's some advice that you can give to like the guys out there that are afraid to approach women and the girls out there that are maybe looking like unapproachable?
Right. So for the guys, first of all, for sure, they need to practice approaching women. And most of the time, guys who do not approach women, it's because they probably had previously bad experiences. Women were mean to them, unfortunately, and they just don't feel secure enough in approaching women. So this is something that I would advise to relearn, practice flirting skills and communication skills, and how to become better in approaching women. It's very important. And for women, that I do understand why women don't have like the willingness to approach men, because as a woman you want to feel masculine energy, you want the man to come towards you, you want him um, to be the giver. But nowadays, many things changed in our dating life. And I think that women have to approach men in order for them to create more opportunities. Because if you, as a woman, will not approach a man that you find interesting, another woman will.
True. Yeah. I agree with you. I think women need to shoot their shot more, which is a term I love to use because you never know. And a lot of men, like you said, nowadays are just like intimidated, afraid. They've had bad experiences with women. Also, like my whole TikTok feed, is filled with like male bashing. People are always
Right,
like, men suck. Like people online are so negative about men today that it
right,
creates this massive divide amongst men and women where like no one wants anything to do with one another because we're like running through this narrative that, we've seen one TikTok and then it's another echo chamber of all of these negative experiences or talk on men. So how
right.
do you expect to find someone when your whole feed is filled with all this negativity and you're like, men suck, all men suck? Like, and that's obviously not true. Like, I'm sure you have many male clients who want to find a partner just as much as a female client might want to find.
Right. So I think is that first of all, for women, hopefully, um, women will try to see men in a more positive light than they do today. And I think it's an important exercise to even improve and enhance their own dating journey. Um, and for men, they really have to learn how to create an emotional connection in order for a woman to even look at them.
Mhm. How do women, though, start to think more positively about men if they've been burned, so many times in the past? Like, it's obviously easy to be like so negative on men when you've had
Right,
such bad experiences.
right,
But I also don't think you're going to be attracting a partner if your energy is so in such a negative space, right? Like you need to be very open and positive and like that is the energy that you will receive. I mean, that's at least what I believe. So how do you even get to that point where you can start thinking in a more positive mindset?
right. So definitely, if you go on a date with a negative mindset, like it's not going to get you anywhere,
Yeah.
because you're already setting up your date for failure, and you're not giving an honest, true chance to the other person. So mindset is very important, not just for dating, for everything in life. You need to go through life with a positive mindset in order for you to achieve what you're looking for. And so I think that if a woman is really burned through bad experiences, maybe she should take some time off from dating, which is totally fine. Like, nobody should feel pressured or forced to go out on dates. And at the same time, she needs to be more strategical about how to filter who she goes out on a date with, because it's not just a numbers game, and it really requires to understand her dating style, her communication skills, and what she's looking for in order for someone to tell this is a good match for her. She should try and go out with that person. Maybe there won't be physical attraction, chemistry, but at least there is potential. And if you see dating just as a numbers game, you waste a lot of energy, emotional energy, time, money in dating not the right people for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's definitely like good advice because even from my own personal experiences, like maybe I haven't found like my future partner yet, but I've at least gone out with enough good guys to have faith in men and knowing that
Amazing.
like there are good guys out there and there are men that want to build families, there are men that are serious, there are men that are emotionally intelligent. Like just haven't found the right one for me and that's okay. But I think having positive experiences with men, even if it's just a guy that's a friend, like it doesn't have to be like something romantic. I think that's important
Right.
to have good, healthy male relationships
Right.
in our lives.
But then the question is, why do you friend zone someone?
Mm.
Because women tend to friend zone men even when they're actually really good potential partners.
Yeah, but then maybe you hear like a year later, oh, after we were friends for a year and then something just changed. So
Exactly.
that is very
Correct.
common.
Yes.
So maybe they just like weren't ready in that moment to like open
Exactly.
themselves up or something. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Gilly, this has been so fun. Okay, my last question for you is in terms of flirting, what are your top tips to be better at flirting?
Okay. So flirting is different for men and women. As we know, men are more visual than women. So for women, when it comes to flirting, it's more about the physical look and how you move and how you smile. And it's being really aware of how to be more seductive and be in your feminine energy because man can feel feminine energy. And for men, it's really about making an emotional connection with the woman through flirting, which means that, and there are several techniques that man can learn because flirting is basically a different type of language. And if a man knows how to use his flirting skills properly, he will create an emotional bond with the woman, and automatically she will see him as a potential partner.
Good tips. Good tips. For women, be in your feminine energy. I remember, even in my mid 20s in New York, I was like going out, like, trying to meet guys at the bar on the weekends. And like that was my like goal. Like that was my priority is like to meet men and flirt it up. And I can only imagine the crazy amount of desperate energy I was putting out there. So it's not shocking to me that I was like single most of my mid 20s living in New York City versus now, like I'm so protected of my peace and my energy and so like less focused on dating and like the pressure is so off oddly enough at the age of 30 than it was in my 20s that I feel like things just kind of come to me.
So let me give you an example of feminine energy because it's very abstract and sometimes we feel like, so what does it actually mean? So let's say you want your partner to take you to a certain restaurant, right? One way of saying is, when are you going to take me to a nice restaurant? That's very masculine energy. It's very demanding. It's very harsh. Feminine energy would be like, there is a really nice place. I would love you to take me there.
Mm.
That's the difference between masculine and feminine energy.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good clarification because I think that term is so widely used, but no one really knows what that can mean. But also in my head, feminine energy is like if you're at the bar, like for me, I was, desperate energy in terms of like going to approach guys probably on my own and like looking around the room versus now I'm like enjoying my time with my friends, being present, going there to hang out with friends versus with the mindset of going to meet men. And that can be read, I think, so clearly on either spectrum.
Right. And being desperate is never good for dating.
Yeah.
So, especially for women, because men can sense that too. Same way as they sense feminine energy, they sense desperation. And so, I think that it's very important for a woman to have a life around her dating life, to have enough friends, hobbies, a job that she hopefully enjoys, and to, although she wants to prioritize and focus on dating, but to be calm about it and know that if she takes all the right steps, it will work out for her. She will find her person, and hopefully she can go through the process in an easier way if she feels less desperate.
Yeah, definitely easier said than done, I'm sure. But definitely taking the pressure off. You can only imagine like how that is received on the other end of it. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, Gilly, how can people find you if they're looking for some dating coaching?
They can find me on my Instagram, which is Gilli Kahn. Well, so far, as I told you, Kayla, um, I've been working word of mouth and I only receive referrals. And I was very selective about the people I work with. But I've seen that I can really help many people. And I would like to be more out there and be more visible. And I want people to be able to approach me easier. Um, and in fact, I was thinking, if you agree, if people reach out to me through your podcast, then I can give a free consultation for the first one or two people.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that'd be awesome. So if you guys heard that, Gilly will be giving out 2 free sessions to any of you guys who might be interested in some dating coaching. I know I have some friends that already said to me, like, would love to connect with you. So we'll have to pass your info along. And I'm sure that would be extremely, extremely helpful. So thank you, Gilly, for
Okay.
being here. This was such a fun conversation.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Thank you for having me.